If you're looking at DJI's cheapest drones right now, there's a very good chance you're stuck between two options that should be easy to compare, but somehow aren't. On one side, you've got the DJI Mini 4K, a drone that's been around long enough for prices to settle, deals to show up, and real-world performance to be well understood. On the other side, you've got the DJI Neo 2, brand new, smarter, smaller, and clearly aimed at people who don't want flying to feel complicated. And here's the thing, most people don't buy drones based on spec sheets. They buy them based on confidence. Confidence that they won't crash. Confidence that the footage won't look shaky. Confidence that they didn't waste their money. So in this video, I'm not here to crown a winner. I'm here to help you avoid the wrong first drone. Because choosing the wrong one doesn't just disappoint you. Like, guys, it convinces you that drones aren't for you. And that's usually not true. Right now, depending on where you live and current offers, the Mini 4K is typically selling around $299 to $329 with a controller included. The Neo 2, depending on configuration, is landing around $299 for the base setup and climbs higher if you add accessories. So for the first time, these two drones are sitting dangerously close in price. And that's exactly why this comparison matters now. But here's the mistake most people make. They compare these two like they're built for the same job. They're not. These drones represent two completely different philosophies of flying. The Mini 4K is a traditional drone. It expects you to slow down, plan shots, manage wind, and fly deliberately. The Neo 2 is a reaction drone. It expects you to move fast, trust the software, and let the drone help you look good. And if you don't understand that difference early, you'll end up judging one of these very unfairly. So let's set expectations properly. This video is for three types of people. If you're buying your first drone ever, if you want the cheapest DJI drone that still feels real, or if you already own one of these and are wondering if the other makes more sense for how you fly, by the end of this video, you won't just know what these drones can do. You'll know which one fits the way you think. And stay with me, because later in this video, we'll talk about a hard limit on the Neo 2 that almost nobody mentions, and a quiet advantage of the Mini 4K that only shows up after a few weeks of flying. Those two details alone change a lot of buying decisions. But first, before cameras, before specs, before features, we need to talk about what actually happens when you take these drones outside and fly them like a normal person, because that's where the truth usually shows up. All right, now let's get into what actually happens when you take these drones outside and fly them like a normal human being. Not hovering in perfect weather, not babying the sticks, just real flying. Let's start with battery life, because this is where expectations usually break. On paper, the DJI Mini 4K is rated for 31 minutes of flight time. In the real world, climbing, braking, correcting for wind, framing shots, you're realistically getting about 22 to 23 minutes, and that number is important because it's consistent. You don't feel rushed. You don't feel like the battery suddenly falls off a cliff. You have time to think, reset, and try a shot again. Now let's talk about the DJI Neo 2. DJI claims around 19 minutes. In real-world flying, especially with tracking, stabilization, and wind corrections active, you're landing closer to 10 to 11 minutes with a safe buffer left. That sounds like a big gap, but context matters. The Neo 2 is not built for long exploratory flights. It's built for short, intentional bursts. You launch, you get the shot, you land, and if you try to fly it the same way you'd fly a Mini 4K, slow, high, far, it starts to feel stressful very quickly. But when you fly it the way it's meant to be flown, something interesting happens. It feels fast, it feels confident, and it feels like the drone is helping you finish shots instead of asking you to manage everything. Now let's talk about wind, because this is where beginners usually get caught off guard. The Mini 4K has stronger motors, a larger frame, and a true 3-axis mechanical gimbal. When wind hits it, the drone absorbs the movement and the camera stays calm. This is why Mini footage looks stable even when conditions aren't perfect. With the Neo 2, DJI went a different route. It's lighter and smaller, but smarter. Instead of brute forcing stability, it relies heavily on software. It anticipates gusts, it trims motion early, and it smooths exits before you even realize you're about to overcorrect. Is it as stable as the Mini 4K in strong wind? No. But for the kind of flying the Neo 2 encourages, close to people, paths, and subjects. It feels more planted than you'd expect for its size, and this is where the emotional difference starts to show. With the Mini 4K, you feel like a pilot. You're managing the aircraft. With the Neo 2, you feel more like a director. You're managing the idea, not the flight. Neither approach is better, but they feel very different. Now, there's one more thing we need to address here, because it quietly affects how these drones feel in the air. Altitude. Depending on country regulations, the Mini 4K can climb much higher, sometimes up to 500 meters. Most people never fly that high, but the headroom matters. It gives you confidence when flying over hills, cliffs, coastal edges, or uneven terrain. You're not constantly thinking about hitting a ceiling. The Neo 2, on the other hand, is hard limited to 120 meters. That's not a bug, that's a design choice. DJI is very clearly positioning the Neo 2 as a close-range, people-focused drone. It wants to stay near the story, not above the landscape, and this is one of those details that doesn't seem important on day one, but becomes very obvious after a few weeks of flying. So by this point, a pattern should be forming. The Mini 4K rewards patience and planning. The Neo 2 rewards speed and confidence. And now that we understand how they fly, it's time to talk about the thing most people actually care about, the footage, because this is where the decision usually becomes very clear. Now let's talk about the footage, because this is where most buying decisions are actually made. Yes, both of these drones shoot 4K, but how they arrive at that footage is very different. The DJI Mini 4K uses a true 3-axis mechanical gimbal. That means when the drone tilts, yaws, or fights wind, the camera physically stays level, and you feel that immediately. Footage looks calm, lines feel deliberate. Even when your flying isn't perfect, the video usually is. This is why the Mini 4K still punches above its price. It doesn't rely on tricks, it relies on physics. The DJI Neo 2 takes a different approach. It uses a dual-axis gimbal combined with electronic stabilization. On paper, that sounds like a compromise. In the air, it's surprisingly capable. High-angle push-ins stay clean, fast orbits hold the horizon better than you'd expect, and when gusts hit, the footage recovers quickly instead of snapping. Is it as consistently smooth as the Mini 4K? No, but here's the important part. In the Neo 2's footage feels alive. It's designed to look good when things are moving, people walking, bikes rolling, subjects changing direction. It wants motion. Where the Mini 4K excels at calm cinematic shots, the Neo 2 excels at keeping shots usable when conditions aren't perfect. And this is where the choice becomes very personal. If your goal is landscapes, slow reveals, and footage you want to grade heavily later, the Mini 4K makes life easier. If your goal is people, movement, tracking, and quick moments, the Neo 2 feels like it's working with you, not waiting for perfect inputs. Now let's bring everything together, because by this point, you probably already feel yourself leaning one way. So let's make that decision clear, without oversimplifying it. Well, you'll probably be happier with the Mini 4K if you like longer flights, you enjoy manual control, you want calmer, more cinematic footage, you fly in open areas or wind, and you want a drone that rewards patience. You'll probably be happier with the Neo 2 if you want flying to feel forgiving, you shoot people more than landscapes, you value smart tracking and automation, you don't want to think too much while flying, and you like the idea of the drone helping you succeed. Now, a quick word for people who already own one of these. If you have a Mini 4K and you're curious about the Neo 2, don't expect it to be an upgrade. Expect a different mindset. If you have a Neo 2 and you're looking at the Mini 4K, don't expect smarter flying. Expect more time in the air and calmer footage. That's the trade. No drama, no winners, just different strengths. And that's why this comparison matters. Not because one drone is better, but because choosing the wrong one can quietly ruin your experience. So here's my final retook. If this is your first drone and you want confidence more than control, the Neo 2 is easier to live with. If this is your cheapest entry into real DJI flying and you care about footage first, the Mini 4K still makes a lot of sense, especially at today's prices. And if you're still unsure, so that usually means both would work, right? And that's a good problem to have. So now I want to hear from you. Which way would you go? And what kind of flying do you actually want to do? Drop it in the comments, I read them all. And if this kind of real-world breakdown helps you make better decisions, like consider subscribing to yours because small drones are getting very good, very fast. And the next choice might be even harder.